County in the Morning, presented by First Commonwealth Bank, WCCS 101.1 FM, AM 1160, and Marshall Chriswell is here for Marshall Law. And this segment is intended to be for informational purposes only. The information does not constitute legal advice. The law constantly changes. The information may not be complete or correct depending on the date, your particular legal problem. Each legal problem depends on its individual facts, and different jurisdictions have different laws and regulations. Because of those differences, you should not act or rely on any information in this segment without seeking the advice of a competent attorney licensed to practice law in your jurisdiction for your particular problem. There's one of those right across the microphone from me. He's Marshall Chriswell. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, we've been talking about estates and properties, and I wanted to sort of get into property a little bit more. And in particular, you know, when you get pulled over for a traffic violation, they ask for your owner's card. When you pay off your car, you get a nice little certificate in the mail. That's your documentation for your car, the deed.
Your title.
Or your title, yeah. Not that way with your house, is it?
No, it's not. And that's a common question that I get asked whenever people are buying property and I'm handling the closing. You know, that we sign all the documents and everything's done, and you get the keys to the house, and somebody will say, "Well, okay, where's the title? Where, you know, will that come in the mail? Do I get that when I pay off my mortgage? How does that work?" And the fact is, with real estate, unlike with a motor vehicle, there is no paper title. There is a deed that's recorded at the county courthouse. But that's really only evidence that title has transferred. That's creates a legal presumption that title has transferred, but that is not the title to your real estate. And the reason for that is, you know, with a vehicle, it's rather simple. Okay, the title to a vehicle can really only be affected by a very limited number of things. Usually, it's just a lien, the financing lien. And there's actually, if you ever looked at your vehicle title and you flip it over on the back, there's a place on there that says, you know, when the title's been transferred, and if there have been liens, and if the liens have been released, if the vehicle's been paid off. So it's very simple with a vehicle title. Now, with real estate, it's a whole different ballgame. It's much, much more complex. There are literally hundreds of things that could affect the title that you're getting to your real estate. So the only way to guarantee, you know, with a vehicle, it's easy that you have that paper title in your hand. You've got good title to the vehicle 99 out of 100 times. Yeah. With real estate, it becomes much, much more complicated. You have to, the only way to guarantee that you're getting good title is to have a full title search done, have an attorney who reviews all the documents of record in the county to ensure that the title is good. And then also, you know, we always recommend that you have a policy of owner's title insurance as well to cover things that might not be liens and things that might not have been recorded.
Okay, so you use that word title search, or that phrase title search, which we hear all the time when there's a transfer, and people might think, well, this has been in our family for years, and I've owned this for 40 years. You know, I have the title. Nobody else could have the title. Why do I need a title search?
Because, and the answer to that, and you're right, that's a very common question, and the answer to that is because there are things that can affect the title that maybe you're not aware of. So if someone recorded, let's say someone recorded a document that inadvertently had your parcel number on it, that's something that a title search would turn up. Let's say there's a mortgage that's been recorded, and the description in that mortgage or the tax ID number or something actually refers to your parcel by accident. Okay, that's something that can create a problem. Prior owners, prior owners. If there are problems in the prior chain of title, let's say, for instance, someone was signing as power of attorney, which is very, very, very common. If someone is selling real estate, either maybe on behalf of an elderly or sick parent, or someone that's not available, just not available for closing, you'll have someone show up and sign as a power of attorney. Maybe that power of attorney document, the document that gave them the right to do that, wasn't recorded. That transfer becomes invalid, or the power of attorney document was that there was a legal issue with that. There can be old mortgages. I've run across this on numerous occasions. Mortgages that even 100 years ago, there's a mortgage on the property that was never satisfied. It was put on the record by a bank. It was paid off in a timely manner, but the bank never took the action they needed to file a satisfaction on the record. Mm-hmm. There are so many things that can affect the title to the real estate. Also, a title search, in addition to identifying title defects like that, also it gives you the opportunity to see the full picture of what the title to that property contains. Who else may have some rights here? Whether it's maybe there are easements, like right of way agreements, shared driveways, rights given to coal operators or oil and gas companies to come in and maintain pipelines that you may not even be able to tell are there by looking at the surface of the property. Mm-hmm. So that title search is absolutely important to knowing what you're getting and making sure you're getting what you're paying for.
Now, is it unique to Indiana County that, or to this region that there would be problems that crop up along those lines? Or how often do these things happen that you're surprised by, or the homeowner is surprised by what they find in their title search?
I would say that in at least a third of all transactions, there is something in there that is surprising. Not necessarily something that is going to kill the deal or is going to cost, is going to require remedial measures. But at least in a third of transactions, there's something in there that makes the buyer say, "Huh, that's really good to know." For example, there in many properties, and this isn't just Indiana or Pennsylvania, many properties contain what are called restrictive covenants, particularly if the property you're buying was part of a subdivision. Maybe it was some development, and the deed or one of the prior deeds of record will contain a list of restrictive covenants, and there'll be all sorts of things from governing the construction of the home, how much the homes in this development have to be worth. You can't put a house here that's worth less than $80,000. You can't have, particular kinds of outbuildings and trailers, things like that would affect the aesthetic value of the neighborhood, but also things like setback lines. I had an issue where I actually represented some sellers of property that came in to see me, and they said, "We're thinking about selling our home, but we just realized there may be a problem." They had built a garage, and the garage was near the public road. It was about 15 feet off the public road. Mm-hmm. Not a very well-traveled road, and it wasn't a big deal to anybody. But when they went back and looked at the deeds prior to putting their house on the market, they saw that these restrictive covenants in one of the deeds, prior owners, contained a 50-foot, I think it was a 35-foot setback. Okay. Couldn't build. So this garage, this beautiful garage they had built, was sitting in essentially an illegal place. Mm-hmm. So we had to go through and get signatures from all of the property owners in that development, which was about a dozen of them, I think, to try to remediate that so the place was marketable. But those are the kinds of things you run into. Yeah, and they really can affect the actual sale itself, but the price or the remedial actions that you talk about, even if the price remains the same for the sale of the property or the purchase of the property, somebody has to foot that cost. That's right, and that's similar to if you have an inspection done and there's a deficiency that comes up in the home inspection, and you negotiate price based on that. Maybe there's radon in the basement, you want to get a radon mitigation unit put in, or the roof is bad, or plumbing or something. So those kinds of physical problems, the title problems are just as problematic. They can lead to price negotiations or remedial action needing to be taken. Title problems can even be worse because eventually it can affect the basic right that you're getting when you buy the property, your right to own and live in that house. Mm-hmm. Now, can a property purchaser or buyer do a title search ahead of time?
Or seller, I meant to say.
The seller, yes, and smart sellers do that. You go to an attorney and you say, "Will you at least take a cursory look at the title and just see if there are any problems that jump out at you?" It's a little bit of cost up front, but then you can fix the problem or you can disclose the problem to the buyer ahead of time.
Smart thing to do.
Really, really smart thing to do. Not very many sellers do that, but I've certainly seen, and particularly in the case that I was just talking about, that's something that if they wouldn't have known about it and it would have been turned up by the buyer's attorney on their title search, there would have been price negotiation. It may have even killed the deal. Mm-hmm. So that was really smart on their part.
All right. So that's the cautionary tale, is that if you're considering selling a property, good idea to get in touch with the attorney right at the very start and start to get everything lined up the way that it should be in order that the sale will go through with as little hindrance as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. People, you go to sell property and you always call that real estate agent, and that's important. Important to determine what maybe the value of the property is and the marketability of it. But getting your legal ducks in a row is equally as important.
Yeah. Okay. So make that call and get yourself a competent attorney, such as Marshall Chriswell, who happens to be here with us this morning. Now, when we're talking about title searches and the deeds to your property and things of that nature, somebody wants to try to do this on their own, and they can certainly go look up their deed, but they probably won't know what they're looking at. They won't know what they're reading, will they?
Yeah, and the problem is, just looking at your deed, most people have a copy of their deed laying somewhere around at home. Just looking at your deed tells you absolutely nothing, because the title search, what that is here in Pennsylvania, the customary title search, you have to go back 60 years plus one owner. So that can be many, many deeds that need to be reviewed, in addition to all of the other documents of record, which can include oil and gas leases, coal leases, easement agreements, rent-to-own agreements. All sorts of things are recorded in the county records that can affect the title.
Yeah. In the case of you and other attorneys, obviously it takes research skills. It takes people that you have confidence in that are doing some work for you if you're not able to do that yourself as well.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're if you're a layperson that isn't used to reading deeds and legal documents, you're certainly not going to be able to do it. But it really does take an attorney and that's in Pennsylvania. To certify title, you have to be an attorney in Pennsylvania, and the reason for that is just looking at those documents and reading them, it tells you a little bit, but you have to understand the legal ramifications of the words in those documents, and that's why, as we often say on this show, you really can't DIY your legal work.
Yeah, absolutely. So for you, what must people do?
If you have an issue regarding real estate or any other legal problem, my number is 724-465-5826. You can always stop by our office in the Atrium Building here in downtown Indiana, or go online to westernpalawyer.com.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.